Of course, the Commission made use of its own technical agency, that is EMSA. So it was agreed that EMSA should be charged to develop the Blue Belt project. And of course, the Blue Belt project involves public and private stakeholders, as I will display and introduce you later on. So the recommendation was also to involve as much as possible the public and the private sector. Well, what is the objective of the pilot project, the Blue Belt? Generally speaking, is stimulating short sea shipping, and this is why I'm here today. And how it is presented is the way to explore new ways to promote inter-EU trading routes. In particular, the specific objective is to give information to the customs in ports about the ship whereabouts, information about where the ship was before to get the port, and possibly where the ship is going after the ship will leave the port, and information about the voyage and the previous track of the ship, as I will show you later on. We initiated the operational phase of the project on the 2nd of May, so it's a recent story, let's say it is a couple of weeks ago. And from when we started, and let's say the last 15 days, the custom authorities in Europe have started receiving the Blue Belt report. What is the concept? The ship that is leaving a port in Europe is approaching another port. So before the port, this ship approached the next port of call, the custom authority in the next port of call will receive a report via email. And this report contained the information I told you before. So information about the voyage of the ship, about the next port of call, the last port of call. So to give the customs authority as much information as they can then make use for their own risk assessment and formalities, custom formalities in ports. A very simple scheme on how the data flow is going today. When the ship is moving between two ports, so moving between port A and port B, the ship is transmitting, as I told you before, AIS messages, so position messages. These position messages are captured by the member states' infrastructures and is shared through EMSA to the other member states. Then the ship, when it leaves the port, the agent in port has to notify the authority. Before to arrive in the port, it has to notify the pre-arrival information, what we call pre-arrival information. So the expected time of arrival, expected time of departure, persons on board, these type of things. And when the ship departs, the authority shall notify also the departure of the ship to the system. So we aggregate all this information. SafeCNet does it, so it's the machine that put all together. Compile all this information in a report, send it to the customs authorities in port, especially in the port where the ship is bound for, in this case, what is port B, the destination port. And then the custom authority evaluate this report, make use of the information that they have in the report, and then they make, let's say, they should make the best possible use of it, knowing the voyage information of the ship, and then making their own assessment on the ship cargo and goods transported on board the ship. As I told before, it is a simple email. It is generated by the machine. It is sent to the custom authority in port. It contains two annexes. The first annex is, it is not very much readable. I'm sorry for that. What you have here, this list, is the list of actual ship call in a port. So in this case, where the ship is bound for, which is the ETA of the ship in port. If the ship has already arrived, because you might have a delay, or you might have an operational issue where the ship is expected to arrive in a certain time, but is arriving before or after that specific expected time. So the ship might be already arrived. And then you have the expected calls or the past calls. So in this way, the customs can appreciate where the ship was 3 days before, 7 days before, 15 days before, depends on the ship voyage. And then it knows also where the ship is going and when the ship is expected to arrive to the next port. The second attachment that they receive is a reconstruction of the ship track between the last port and the port of call. So if the ship in this case is bound for London, then 2 hours before arrival, the custom authority in London will receive the report that is based on these two attachments. And in the report, there will be a reconstruction of the ship track between the last port and the port of call. In this case, the ship is making a scheduled service. So if you see, there is a repetition of tracks between the two ports because this is a regular shipping service. And in this case, it's Zeebrugge and London. So you have all this, the track that is repeated 3-4 times. In this case, 3 because we have 3 times the call. So it is repeated. As I told you before, we have involved public and private sector in the project, mainly in the first phase for the preparation of the project. The first phase started in December and ended in May, and was the first part dialogue with the stakeholders, and the second part the technical development, up to the 2nd of May where we started operations. In this first part, let's say up to end of February, we had, of course, contacts with the EU custom authorities through the DG Taxud, that is the Directorate General for Taxation and Customs of the Commission, where all the European authorities of the member states are part of a board that is called Electronic Custom Group. And we had a number of meetings and discussion with them to find out the best way to, let's say, shape the project in order to serve the customs, because they are the end users of the project. So we wanted them to be involved and to tell us how to and what were their expectations.